Hello and welcome to another episode of Between the Covers. We're going live at a slightly different time and day today, so Friday, 7 p.m. GMT. So if you're watching, tap the screen, say hello, show us some love. Let us know where you're watching from. If you find this interview of worth and value, please do share this out. But if you're watching for the first time, who am I? My name is Daniela Bleckner. I am an author, book journey mentor, founder of a company called Conscious Dreams Publishing. We work with authors from all over the world, helping them to transform their powerful messages and stories into successful published books, which you can see some of them on the shelf behind me. We've published 200 books over the last 6 years. I'm absolutely passionate about providing a platform for unseen, unheard authors so they can have their voices heard and stories shared. So, tell you a little bit about the show. Between the Covers, it's all about getting up close and personal between the covers of what it means to really publish a book, write and publish a book. First of all, this is a platform where I introduce authors, whether they self-publish, whether they've been traditionally published, whether they've worked via Conscious Dreams Publishing or another publishing company. But it's also an opportunity for you to really hear from industry experts, people who work behind the scenes of writing and publishing a book. Before I introduce you to my extra amazing special guest, I just want to first of all take the time to say thank you so much to everyone who has contributed towards my crowdfunding campaign. Those of you who know, I've been visited by a white pigeon, and just as I've said that, he's here right now and he's started to pipe up. I wish you could see him all. Maybe you can. He's literally at the window making a lot of noise. Can you see that? His name is Piper. But it's given me so much inspiration over the last 26 days. He's come to visit me every single day, bar 3. Tries to get into my office every single day. I don't know what it is about coming in here, but he wants in, and he ain't paid no rent. But since he's been here, he's really encouraged me to live out my passions and to really work on my own projects. I've done a crowdfunding campaign for a book that I started writing 15 years ago that I'm absolutely passionate about. It's a children's fantasy novel called Sadie, the Great Album Cover Heartist, centered around a young girl who is exceptionally gifted at art. She vows to stop drawing again after the death of her father, but she is called to save the dreams of humanity and other creatures in other dimensions. She is also on the autistic spectrum, to same as myself, undiagnosed. It's not about being autistic, but I've weaved in some of those traits there. So I just want to say thank you to everybody who has contributed towards that crowdfunding campaign. I'll put the link in the comments. The funds not only go towards paying my amazing team to edit, illustrate, and to create this book, they go towards, my dream is to go into schools, care homes, prisons, and to reach some of society's most vulnerable so that I can help them to get their story out and also publish their books. So I'll put a link in the comments here. I'm just waiting for my lovely guest to come in. I know we've all come on to see her. And also what Piper has done, I've named the pigeon, yes I have. He has inspired me to do what I've always wanted to do, and that's to write my own children's book. So not middle grade, this is children's book, early 6 to 9. It's called 9 Days with Piper Snow, centered around a young girl who is visited by a white pigeon, and the white pigeon changes her life. So if you'd like to support this endeavor, you can do this via this live stream. Just click the link. You can support me by sending stars. Stars not only go towards a crowdfunding campaign, but they help me to earn money to make more content. So with that out the way, and now that our guest, I think, is here firmly, I'm going to introduce you to the awesome, amazing Rasheda Ashanti. She is a journalist, a writing coach, author, playwright, and radio presenter with a background in gender-based violence and domestic abuse, and a passion for empowering women and girls creatively. She is also the founder of Hammersmith and Fulham, co-founder of Hammersmith and Fulham Writers Festival, which is taking place in July. She's going to tell you a lot more about that. I have the privilege of running a workshop there. Very excited about that. She does so many things. She's also the director of the Wild Foundation. What am I going to talk to her about first? So as she comes into the broadcast, please do tap the screen, show us some love, ask your questions, throw them up. Let us know where you're watching from. If you're watching on the replay, put in the chat hashtag replay and say hello. So, Rasheda, how you doing? That's a fantastic shot.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm kind of getting it. So the phone is not the best kind of equipment, but I'm hoping it's working.
No,
It's
this is
clearer. The camera's
much
clearer than
better.
my laptop. Yes.
Much
Yeah.
better, much better, much
So,
better.
so
Okay.
yes.
So,
So thank you for having me. Serious. Thank you for having me. It's brilliant.
no problem. We finally managed to interview. Excited. So
Finally.
I've obviously introduced you. When you sent me your bio, you do so many things, so many amazing things. But I want to sort of touch on your journey first as an author. You've published 2 books, so Swimming with Fishes and Love Again, I believe.
Yes.
Can
Yeah.
you tell me a little bit about your writing journey and how you came to publish those books?
Wow. Wow. Okay. My writing journey began, I would say, when I was like about 9, 10 years old, when I was given a present of a book by my mum and dad, and it was the biggest, fattest storybook you could have imagined. I mean, it was huge. When it was wrapped up for Christmas, you know, as a child, you're like, oh, this big thing. And it was a storybook, and I had my favorite stories in there, but I really enjoyed reading the stories, and I'd read my favorite over and over and over again.
What was your
And
favourite?
then there was one in there about, it was those days, it was just like kind of well made up stories for little girls. So there was one in there about a little girl that had a best friend, and she had to, go into school, and she'd moved far away. I really liked that one because I'd not long come over from Jamaica, and that kind of resonated with me, just reading that she had to move to another school and make new friends and things like that. And then what happened was that any piece of paper I could get hold of, I'd start writing my own story. Those childlike story, like began once upon a time.
Yeah.
You start with that. By the time I was 13 and at high school, my English teacher was on my back. He was on my back. He realized that, um, I could write, but he also realized that I was influenced by, you know, as you are, by your peers. And so I did love writing. And in his English class, I would turn out excellent work. I did all the homework. But in class, I'd mess about because, that's what you do when your peers mess about. And, but writing was the thing. At that time, I'd go home and, Caribbean children are not allowed to live on the streets. So when I'm home, I'm home. So I would just go, after doing my chores, I'd go back to my book, I'd go back to writing, just making up stories. And I just kept writing. And at 15, a friend of mine gave me a 5-year diary, which I have to this day.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, my children and my grandchildren will eventually read that 5-year diary from 15 to 20. And
Wow.
yeah, they'll even see when I lost my virginity within
They're
that
not
too.
ready to read it yet, though, are they? Because you said like
No, no,
at some
no. I
point in the
told them
future.
that's for when I've gone. When I've gone, they could read that one. But yeah, so I just continued writing, Danny, and I just entered competitions and started going to writers group, and then started my thing of sending, my whip to publishers to begin with. And those publishers would come back and they would say, thank you, but no thank you.
Yeah.
But one, and I always remember this, at HarperCollins said to me, you have a voice. I wouldn't know where to place you. Now, this was in the 90s, so she wouldn't know where to place me, but she told me I had a voice. So that was like music to my ears. So I kept going, I kept going, I kept writing. And then while I was I did my degree in media studies, really concentrating on radio broadcast. And after that, I did my master's in creative and transactional writing. And it was there I did a short story that Puffin picked up for their
Wow.
anthology. Yeah, they liked it. And that was in 2004 they picked it up. So I started thinking, and the thing is, they wanted me to write, and it was for young adults. So you know what it is when they get you doing something, they want you to continue. But that wasn't my genre. My genre is romance. And
Yeah.
I really wanted to just get back to romance. And I did enjoy writing that. If I tell you how I wrote it, it was the editor sent me, a brief basically to say, oh, would you be interested in, being considered for this anthology? And I looked at it. It was called Skin Deep. It was supposed to be about um, a different racism with a spin. So the racism I did was more about colorism, and it was about a 13-year-old coming over from Jamaica, as I did. And not at 13, I came over when I was about 5 or something like that. But this child was 13. And basically, it just showed what she went through and how she made friends. And the fact that the racism meted out towards her was from her own Black peers. So it did well. And they really wanted me to write more of that kind of thing. But like I said, I'm a romance girl, and I was been working on a romance at the same time, and I just kept revamping it until I went to a book launch, and actually, who was there but Valerie Brandis? You know,
Ah, yes.
yes,
Jacaranda, for people who don't know.
publisher of
I'm trying to get her on
Jacaranda.
this show.
Yes. She's a hard woman to get hold of because she's just so enormously busy. She
Yeah.
really is. But at the book launch, had a bit of a natter with her, and it was good that Valerie kind of, she knew my history. She kind of said, it's people like you, your magazine, Candice magazine, because remember I did Candice magazine in the
Yeah.
90s for women of color, and she honored me when she said it was, people like you and Bernadine that kept me going, that gave me the idea. And she'd been going for 10 years, and I
Beforehand.
know how financially thirsty publishing is. I was a publisher for Candice magazine, and that was for five years in the 90s when, the mantra then was for women was you can have it all. Business, babies, everything, you can have it all. And I had 4 children who was trying it. you know so it was an amazing time, but they weren't ready. Um when we tried to get advertising, they just weren't ready for us. So I went from editing a magazine to just continue chasing my purpose. Then I don't like to call it a dream, chasing my
Yeah.
purpose of getting my book published. And when I met Val, she says, okay, send it to me and let's have a talk. So I sent her the whip, and it was a while. It was quite a while before she got back. I'd even forgotten and started sending it out to other people. And then suddenly I got an email saying, yes, we'd like to meet with you and have a talk. And
But
yeah.
before you go on, sorry, those people that obviously I know who Valerie Brandis is. Could you just explain to the audience who may not know who Valerie is?
So Valerie is the publisher of Jacaranda books, music, art. They celebrated 10 years last year, so this year is their 11th year in publishing.
Wow.
And she published marginalized writers, writers of color, indie writers. And she's pretty awesome. She's given, a lot of Black writers a platform. So yeah,
Awesome.
that's
Thank you.
Valerie. And check her out. Check out
We
Jacaranda.
got Valerie. I met her at London Book Fair last year, not this year, last year. Awesome woman.
Right.
So, yeah, go on.
Yeah. So yeah, that was it really. After Valerie and I spoke, and it was my first book, Swimming with Fishes, that was set between Jamaica and London, and it's basically a book. It's that kind of triangle type of thing happening within the narrative, and I was just so happy that you know she embraced my characters, because one of the things with one of the publishers that I'd approached before, I won't call names, but they said he's an architect. you know, because my black protagonist, my male the
Mm.
love interest, was an architect.
Yeah.
Well, what he was really is that he was good at architecture, he had an eye for it, but he was really an entrepreneur, a businessman that, you know, spot good properties and invested, sold them, and so he was quite, you know, lucrative.
Well, to do, yeah.
They yeah, couldn't
They didn't buy
keep
into
it in
that.
them. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that they only had that single story for us. So yeah, it was difficult. So when Val gave us that platform, it was wonderful. And then, you know, Swimming with Fishes, the audio rights was bought out by a Danish company.
Yeah.
So, you know, I've had some pretty good, you know, kind of results from it. And my second novel, Love Again, was actually shortlisted for the Romantic Novel Association in 2021, I think it was 2021. Yeah.
Amazing. So you've gone through a definite journey of publishing, from short stories and an anthology to working with Valerie Brandis to having your romance novel out there. I mean, it's so romance is the kind of line you want to go down. Is it? Is that, would you say
That's
that's your
my
genre?
genre. But I'm remaking the genre of romance. I'm not going to be pigeonholed. Sorry, Piper, but yeah, I'm not going to be.
As soon as you said that, pigeonholed.
Yes, I'm not going to be
Blown off.
pigeonholed into that type of romance, because
Yeah.
the romance I want to write, yes, it is a woman's life, but a woman is more than who she falls in love with, who she sleeps with, who she
Mm,
marries, who she gives birth to. So
yeah.
there's layers, you know, in the story. It's commercial fiction, yeah, women's commercial fiction, and it embraces aspects of all aspects of a woman's life. So even with Swimming with Fishes, at a book signing in Brixton, a woman came over to me and she'd already got a copy of the book. So she was like so happy I was there. She says, I was hoping you was going to be here because I wanted you to sign this. And so I signed a copy for her, and we had a really good, you know, conversation about the story. And then this other woman came up, and, you know, our Black women's day, some of them, when they're ready to look at you and just tell you, you know, that's how she was going at me, you know. And then she said, I hope you know that you've written my story in this book. It is my story. I don't know how you got into my life, but this is my story. And yeah,
Oh,
that
wow.
was a great feeling. That was a great feeling that,
That's brilliant.
you know, yeah, that's a great thing for a writer. You love to be read, you know.
Mm.
That's the whole
And,
point.
and for
So,
people to see themselves, feel heard, and
yes,
feel visible, you know. Going
yes.
back to what you said about, you know, this mainstream publisher, I mean, I've had so many stories. I have my own stories. But I mean, do you think much has changed in terms of you know, publishing deals, especially for women of color, a representation in terms of characters and what, you know, what what are we still playing towards a single narrative when we look at the publishing industry? How do you see it now from when that
Well,
happened to now?
I definitely seen improvements, and I'll tell you, I saw the improvements. 2020 it's a weird year for me, 2020, because of course I
Oh,
lost my husband that year. George Floyd died that year, and it was with George Floyd murder that things turned around a little bit.
so
And the
now black writers.
yes, and the gatekeepers were made to actually look at their own practices, and I think some of them did. And this is why the Black Writers Guild was so successful, because
Mm,
the professional, and I applaud them, because professionals got together and created the Black Writers Guild and went to these professionals and were able to get some funds to start something for us, because the gatekeepers had acknowledged that, yeah, we pay Black writers, Black authors far less than, you know, their white counterparts. There was so
yeah,
much yeah, sorry.
there was something called hashtag. I remember 2020 hashtag pay me, or what was it? There was a hashtag, And so many Black writers were talking about how much they would get paid in response to
Yes.
others. And it really opened my eyes, because I was naive to
Yes.
some of what I was reading, and my mouth dropped. Pay publishing pay. Oh, I'm gonna have to. I'll come back on the replay and put the hashtag in. But if you go
Yeah.
into that, it's insane. From my own research, I know that there was a surge of Black writers in 2020, and it's such a
Yes.
tragic that something like that had to happen. For, suddenly agents were saying, we recognise that there's a problem, and
Yes.
we've closed our doors, but we're opening our doors just for this small window, just looking for Black writers. And there was suddenly lots of initiatives. I thought they were brilliant opportunities, but there was a real sadness with that as well, that it took something like that to realize that
Yeah.
we're
Of
so
course.
underrepresented.
Yeah.
But then feeding into that, there's also been a 29% drop of Black writers since 2020. So in a sense, it feels like there was a little bit of a bandwagon trend thing going on. How do we keep that? I mean, I haven't got all the answers, but I mean, in your view, how do we keep this dialogue open, and how do we keep
Well,
us on the
uh,
platform?
okay. When you say a band of wagonists, then
Yeah,
that's how we used to call them, the wagonist that jumps on the wagon. But there's always going to be them.
yeah,
But the true writer, the tenacity, the determination, the hard work, and most of us, we're not writing for profit. Come on, we're writing because we have stories to tell and to share. And yeah, the cherry on the cake is getting a six-figure advance. Yes, of course we'll welcome it, but that's not the whole thing. And also, because I teach creative writing, I teach,
mm,
creative writing at the Adult Education Center, and I have my own online creative writing tribe
brilliant.
as well, which I teach. And I've had many, and I've got one that's women only, women of color only, and I've had a writer come on. She came. This was when we were face to face, and she was like, "Yes, I'm the Black Tina Cole. Is it Martina Cole? I'm the Black Martina Cole.
Yeah,
I'm not going to need to be in your class for more than 6 weeks because I'm going to finish my novel in 6 weeks." Her expectation, it was like, but you don't step on people's dream. Well, I don't. As a tutor, as you're writing, your book coach, whatever, I don't step on your dream. I listen to you. So she was there telling me she's going to finish this novel in 6 weeks. But there was issues because, number one, she didn't want to share any of her work with the rest of the class.
okay.
And number two, she didn't want to listen to anybody else's work because she didn't want to be influenced. So it's people like her that you'll find that will jump on the bandwagon to become an author, but cannot sustain it because she did
Right.
not finish that book in 6 weeks. She never did finish the book. Saw her years later and, oh yeah, I might pick it up again. No, there's a lot of people who are like that. And the lockdown created time for us to want to
Yeah,
write. And some continued with the writing. And then, others, we let it go.
it's having that longevity, isn't it, and the consistency, I think, is
Yeah.
important across all
The
levels.
tenacity that's needed. And yeah, and you know it. You know how many times you get knocked down and you've got to get
I
up.
know it. I know it. Oh, I mean, writing, it's one of those things. You have to be determined. You have to be committed. You have to want to keep going, because there
Yes.
are a lot of gatekeepers. There are a lot of closed doors. And even if you are self-publishing, or working through a company, it's not one of the big five, it's still a journey.
Yes.
We've got a question here from Naya. She's saying, please, Rasheda. Oh, okay, you missed the beginning. She says, did you used to run a UK magazine?
Yes, I did. Of course I did, Naya. Magazine called Candice Magazine. Those days it was Candice, Queen of Magazines. So yeah, that magazine I launched in my 20s. And you know what? I was pregnant with my third child at the time. So it was, and I'd been in touch with Susan Taylor, Susan L. Taylor from Essence Magazine. And I wrote her this long letter telling her that we don't have a magazine in the UK that's about us Black British women. We have to get it from your magazine, Essence and Ebony, and I want one for ourselves here. And she was really sweet, even though she had half of our, our readership. She needed to maintain it. She still actually helped me. And one of the things she told me is that advertising, advertising, advertising. You've got to soak the magazine with advertising. And at the time in the 90s, nobody had faith in Black.
Digital.
Yeah. They didn't want to know us. So yes, you remember Candy's magazine. Quite a few people do, actually.
She met you. She says, I got to meet you at the university. You're amazing. There, you got a fan. Link with Rasheda.
Thank you. And come to the festival.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about the festival in a second. So we've got Janine is saying, hello, ladies. Amazing woman. Janine, she's one of our authors and also a live stream artist who is she knows her stuff when it comes to live streaming. Martin says, absolutely correct. I think you were talking about the publishing, the face of publishing and the importance of having tenacity, not jumping on the bandwagon. Naya says, I was the research assistant. Oh, wow. Okay, small world. Tell us a little bit then. You are the co-founder, your company is World Foundation, and you are the co-founder of Hammersmith and Fulham Writers Festival. Tell us a little bit about the festival.
Yes, so the idea for the festival, of course, was kind of boiling for about 5 years. And then we didn't do it because Bare Lit came out. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, I know Bare Lit.
Yeah. Yes, so Bare Lit came out, so we thought, okay, we don't have to do one because we've got one. But it was a trek from where we live. It was a trek to get there.
It was in Deptford, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And, we're way over west. Yeah. So and then during lockdown, I guess we realized that we didn't have a festival in our borough. And I went to Bush Theatre and asked them. I went to the council. I said, why haven't we got our own festival? And they didn't know why. So I said, if I put one together, would you support it? And, they were like, yeah. But people would always tell you yes. So always be ready with a plan B, because all the yeses that we were told when we actually put it in place, those yeses fell to the wayside. But we still managed to put it on. And the reason we put it on is that, and I think anyone who's been in the, the writing world, the writers' environment will understand when I say this, that when we go to those festivals, go to those, London book fairs and even women's fiction, we are such a minority there. I mean, this year, even at the London Book Fair, I had all my flyers to try and target, authors of color or anyone of color I saw, and took ages.
When I was there last year, I already met you there last year, didn't I?
Yes.
I counted with my partner. There was maybe 15 to 20 over the last 3 full days.
Yeah.
3 full days.
Yes. Yeah.
Was it 2 days? It felt like 3. It's 2 or 3 days.
Yeah. They usually have it over 3 days, but yes, it was. So our presence is low at these events, and when we are, I think what happens is that they decide they like a particular writer, and then an author, and she's reused and reused and reused and reused. It's as if you don't think there's others, that we exist. So we thought this platform will have to give them an array of authors that they could know is out there, and build us as a community of book lovers, because they still had that silly saying about, if you want to keep a secret from Black people, put it in a book.
I can't stand that. I can't.
Yes, they still have it. They still have it, and unfortunately, some of our people live up to it. I've been.
I think it's funny.
It's very strange, but yeah, I've been out where, I've called someone over to where I'm signing books. She looks like my audience, a Black woman. I always like to talk to them. And what do you like reading? No, I don't read. Okay, and it was the way she said it. it just kind of, and I'm the kind of person I would kind of go around you. If I can't get through the door, I'm going to try and go
Yeah.
through your window. But it was like the way she just, no, I don't read. Just, it was like, okay, have a nice day.
I don't know. I honestly don't even know what to say. I don't know what to say about that. But that's thrown me off there. Oh my gosh, that's thrown me off. I had a question, but that's thrown me off. So I'll go to this. Naya says, so true. I love audiobooks, but I'm running out of books. We need more Black narration. Yeah, I'm running out of books too. But I agree. We really do. I agree with what you said about. It's almost like you find one Black author, and it's like they're almost like the protege that is the pinnacle for all of us. It's like, first of all, we don't want to be pigeonholed, using the word again, as a Black writer. We want to be just writers, but because there's so few of us, this category does exist. But it's almost like some of these companies are, we have our Black writer quota now. That's it. We don't need any more. And you see the same faces on rotation. It's like there's. You know, you're part of the Black Writers Guild. I know a plethora of writers. So why aren't we seeing more and more faces? So I'm just going to put your link up to book. This is very important. The author can only write so fast. I get frustrated waiting. So you can get your tickets to Hammersmith and Fulham Writers Festival at www.hand, so handfwritersfestival.co.uk. So it features a range of author talks. You have workshops. You have lots going on. You've got I can't think of the word that I want to use. I know that I've missed something. You've got a competition that's going up that I really wanted to enter, but I didn't manage to get there. But it says it's for women of colour, but obviously it's the people who are the speakers are for women of colour, so offering a platform for women of colour to share what they've done. But just to reiterate, because I saw on some of your posts, people like, does this mean men can't come, or is this just for Black women? Let's just so it comes from you. Who is this festival for?
The festival is primarily for female authors of colour and indie authors of any colour. Okay, but we welcome everyone. We welcome our male authors. You know, a few of them says they're coming, and I have had, I have 4 sons. So when they say to me, "Oi, what have you got against men?" No, it's not that, but disproportionately women do write, and I've seen that over my 30 years in the industry. I've seen that. We are the ones that will put the stories down, get it together, and men have started coming forward now. And I have to big up Kwame McPherson. He's just won the Commonwealth writing. And
Kwame.
The tenacity of that, I'm telling you, Kwame he's never stopped.
I know.
Because he's entered it for about the last 12 years.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
And look at that, 12 years later, he's actually getting it now. So, but he didn't give up.
And we were talking about tenacity and consistency at the beginning of this interview. So again, that just reiterates the point, just to not give up, keep going. It's so important. So big up author Kwame, who said he's going to be watching this interview. We've got a question here. Let us know your name because it's coming up as LinkedIn user. Please, could you remind us when the Writers' Festival takes place?
Okay, the Women's Day is the 8th of July. That's the best day for you all to come to. 8th of July was kicking off 10 a.m. sharp with, workshops. We've got In Conversation with Free the Hard Way, which is Yvette Edwards, Margaret Bushby, Dr. Margaret Bushby, and Dr. Velma McClaremont. Now, these 3 are, they're the general of Black publishing. Okay, Jessica Huntley, bless her soul, she started it too. But when I was doing my my degree, I actually did my dissertation on Black women in the media, and the person that I went to interview was Dr. Margaret Bushby and Jessica Huntley. And just to hear the story of where they came from, for them it's more political how they started and what they wanted to do, and it was just amazing. And to see years later where they used to have their little bookshop in Ealing called Bogle Overture, where they were mostly publishing political and autobiographies. You know, they didn't do my genre, unfortunately, but at the same time, you know, they've got such a rich history. People need to hear their author journey. And then we've got, you know, Frances Mensah, romance author, and of course Stella Oni and Scarlett Braid, who are crime writers. Now, that was another thing, you know, romance and crime writers, for the gatekeepers, they didn't think we could do those things. And you're a publisher, Danny, so I know, you know, there is just hundreds of romance writers and crime writers out there in our
Yeah, I
community.
interviewed one a few weeks ago. Yeah.
Right. We have it. So, and we just, that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to make sure that, hold on a minute, let me get this.
Gonna
We
get
wanted
into
to,
frame, are you? Oh, what's
yeah,
this?
we wanted to make sure that, because our theme for this year is unmuted, our time, our stories. So we're not going to stop now. Do you know what I'm saying? We're not going to stop. I think it was it Bell Hook that says that, you know, there's a story inside every Black woman. And I'd spread it further and say, yeah, there is. We have our own stories, and it's more than a single story. You know, this is what we've been reduced to, single stories, but we have more than a single story. And I'm just loving the fact that I'm meeting so many writers now, because writers are my favorite people. They really are.
Yay.
So our workshop we've got with Muslim women's narrative, you know, we got Hira Ali and Dr. Sophia Rahman. She's going to be cheering the actual panel with Yushra Samir and Fatah Hassan. So they're going to be discussing, and I believe, who is it? It's Yushra. I think it's Yushra writes romance. And one of the things we've had is many, you know, Muslim women contacting us now, you know.
Open the door.
Yes, yes. And I think they're going to really enjoy coming to see, you know, these women. We actually had an email from someone that says, I'm coming in from the UAE for this.
No, really?
Yes, yes.
That's
She's coming in.
amazing.
And, you know, she made it plain. I want to see the Muslim women, you know, that panel. I'm coming in from the UAE for this. We've got the email. We were like, woo, woo.
That's fantastic.
That was
Wow.
brilliant. That was brilliant.
Pioneers here. I'm really looking forward to this. So,
Yes.
so
And of course, Danny, we also have your workshop.
yeah.
7 Steps to Publishing, self-publishing. And again, this is what I even tell my students who I teach, that don't wait on gatekeepers to validate your work. You believe in yourself, invest in yourself as a writer. Don't be mean to yourself. Invest in yourself, invest in your art, you know, go on courses to improve. I teach, but I still go on courses to keep up. Yeah.
It's so important because it's so easy. I mean, this is how I set up Conscious Dreams Publishing, because of the gatekeepers. It was never my intention to set up a publishing company. I wanted to be a writer, you know,
Right.
and it was through getting those no's that I just insanely sort of learned about the publishing process, because I felt there was no other way. And then from there, I had so many people. It started off being lots of Black women, who some of them who had been offered things by traditional companies and had been told, can you water this story down, or can you change Abiola to Sue, you know, things like this.
Yeah.
And I realized that we really need to have an authentic place to have our stories shared. I mean, we published people from all backgrounds, but it really opened my eyes to realizing that there was a single narrative being told and stories that were being muted, which is why I think what you're doing is just brilliant. We've got a couple of things here. So that was Maeve. Maeve is an author, going to become an author soon as well, my longtime friend. Working with her at the moment, helping her with her book. Roger says, I came into the conversation after it had started. I think you're an author as well, aren't you, Roger? You've had a new book out. Still glad I managed to catch some of it still here. Yay! If you can, come along to Hammersmith Fulham Writers Festival from the 7th to the 9th of July.
So let me explain about that, Danny. The 7th is for the school only. And, you know, schools are a bit finicky with safeguarding. So The public, it's not open to the public on the 7th.
Right.
The
Okay.
8th is the main day. That's the day for the women, the indie authors, male, female, it's for all of us.
Yeah.
The 9th is a children's festival. So if you've got children you want to take to the festival as well and meet some of our children authors that are putting on the workshop, you're welcome to. But the main day, the day where you're going to have the most fun, is the 8th of July, Roger, the Saturday. Come along to that one.
Come on, Roger. So
Yes.
I put the link up on the what's this called, broadcast. I'm sure Rasheda's going to come back and answer any questions on the broadcast and put up any more links that need to be put up. We've come to the end because we've got to hop over to Instagram so you can say hello to some of the followers there.
Okay.
If you have any questions, even if you're watching the replay, chuck those questions up. We'll go back and answer them. Any last words for our audience, Rasheda, and where can people connect with you?
Yes, definitely. Remember, my women and girls charity that puts on the festival is called WILD with an E, and it's Women in Literature Development Empowerment. That's the acronym of it. And if you want to see personally, check out my website, Rasheda Ashanti Malcolm Author. Check me out and you'll see all my books that are on there. But I'm on IG as well at Ashanti Rasheda.
Okay, so we've got that there, RashedaAshantiMalcolm.com, correct? Here
Yep.
we go. I'm throwing that up there. I'm going to highlight it there.
Oh, yeah. And just one more thing. We've got Simon & Schuster's publishers, and they are looking for writers, okay, from marginalized background. I spoke to her and she definitely is looking for writers. So they're offering one-to-ones where they're going to be talking to potential writers, and you can even do a pitch at them. And they're going to open up a window for our writers to actually send their WIP to them. So,
and that's on the 8th, is it? And I saw something like that on your website.
That's on the 8th. So
go
online.
I'm going to be there. I'm going to be.
You're going to be there anyway.
I know I'm going to be there anyway. But you see, as well as kind of being there as an expert, I'm actually benefiting from the event as a writer as well. Yes. So this is for anyone who, no matter what stage of writing you are in the process. That's so right. Roger says is in Jamaica. Get that plane down. Come on, you still got time to book a ticket.
Yes. And we're going to link up. We might do online as well, stream it. If we get enough interest, we said we would do that. So, yeah.
Amazing. So Faye says, excellent. She's one of our authors. Her book, I Got You, is coming out in July. And Naya says, I have a trilogy that's begging to be written. Naya, you need to get down there. See you on the 8th of July. So we have come to the end of the time. It's been so lovely speaking with you. I feel like we've just started the conversation. So we've just kind of scratched the surface today. If you want Rasheda back on the show, just give us a hands up emoji and we'll organise a time to come back. And yeah, just keep us up to date with everything you're doing. Throw up all your links to anything that you want us to have a look at. And if you've been watching, we will see you hopefully on the 8th of July. Here you go. Wonderful. Someone's giving us some emojis there. She wants you back.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Have a beautiful evening, everybody. It's Friday, so it's the weekend. I'm not sure who I've got next week on the show, so you shall find out when I post. And remember, next week. Bye, everyone. See you next Thursday, 7 p.m.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so
Thanks for having
much.
me. Bye.
No problem. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. You need to go back and watch this because you've been mentioned. It's only coming on now. We're ending.
Never mind, Kwame. Okay. Bye-bye. Bye.